let's go out with our Carlton gear on and let's go to a game. And you'd be like, dude, we're really old. We shouldn't do that. I'm just like, we're alumni. We can do what we want. And they'd be like, I don't think that's how that works. I'm like, she has the journalism degree. I got communications. Are you really going to argue with us? Like, we know the PR move here. And they're like, all right, fuck it. Let them in. Ask you to really get it to hop off of here. Like I went on your Instagram and thought it was interesting because it's funny because how I actually found you as the artist was Instagram does these sponsored ads, or sometimes you're just scrolling through and a song comes up, and then I was just like, south of France. I was like, okay. I was like, give me a couple minutes here. Let me dive into this a little bit. And I was like, all right. And then I like that Instagram does that because if it distinctively said, hey, this is a Canadian artist, blah, 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 I'd be like, there's almost like a stigma or whatever where it's like, oh, like that's okay. It's a Canadian artist. Great. Not that there's anything against that. It's just that people label it. So then I was just like, man, she got to be like from like Spain or like France because she's singing about France. Then I was just like, hold on a second. Like Canadian. And what was the other side so people know?
Lebanese, actually.
There you go. And then I was just like, that's interesting. That's enticing. But like, were you born and raised like in Canada with that kind of heritage, or did you come over to Canada?
Yeah, well, I was born in Ottawa.
Okay.
Actually, my dad, he lived here for about 24 years, and then he got married, came with my mom to Ottawa where she had me, and my mom didn't like Ottawa, so she really wanted to go back to Lebanon, so they left Ottawa when I was still a baby, maybe like 1 year old, I think. And I lived in Lebanon until I was 19. I would come back to Ottawa like for visits sometimes. See, I have a few uncles here, so would come and visit. And and I always knew I wanted to come back to Ottawa at some point. And so so I decided to come back for university, and I've been here ever since.
So what enticed you? Like, because I guess your parents are like, cold weather, don't like it, just not for me. But what enticed you to basically say, you know what, I can withstand it? Because I know there's a lot of list of what makes you Canadian, but you coming to live in Canada during winter. Canadian winters are bad enough. Ottawa winters are like really bad, but I feel like people like that makes her Canadian right there. She is now 100% Canadian. But what enticed you to make the journey back?
Yeah, well, there's a few reasons. Like, one of them was the studies, because I really wanted to do journalism, and I had heard that Carleton University has a really good journalism program here.
That's what I got there. It's not journalism, it's communications, but
okay,
it's from Carleton, yeah.
Yeah. So there was that, and then I also, like, this is a bit harder to explain. I have it on my website too, I think, where I say that I always felt like I'm Lebanese, but I never felt like I really belonged there. Like, I don't know, my personality seemed different, or I don't know, maybe not as warm as Lebanese people usually are, or I don't know. Yeah, I just felt like I didn't belong there, and I also, part of it was music too. Like, I didn't, I wrote English songs, and I read English books, and I watched a lot of, like, English movies, and so I just really I don't know, like, I felt like I wanted to come here for like these various reasons, and I did. Like, I didn't come here specifically to. I didn't think like Ottawa was the place to pursue music, but because I wrote English songs, I was like, well, it's a good starting place to find maybe people who will resonate with what I write. So so it was like all of these different reasons combined together that made me come here.
So are you still in like university now, enrolled in school?
No, now I'm actually no, I've been done for 3 years now, I think.
Okay.
I did a master's too at University of Ottawa, and I got an MA in comms.
Nice.
And now I work for the Canadian government as well. So
Oh, okay. I was going to say you went to University of Ottawa. This conversation ends because if you know anything about Carleton, University of Ottawa, there's a rivalry. No, just imagine if I was just like, all right, it was fun, and just close this down. You'd be like, what happened? You'd be like, come on, Ravens, GGs, they don't get along. They're not supposed to, but
yeah, yeah,
I come from Newfoundland where it's like literally you either go to Memorial University or Kona. So it's not even like two universities, it's a college versus a university. And they
yeah,
never cross over. It's never like they're going to have a football game or a
yeah.
hockey game. But like I went to Carleton and I remember my first year, they had, I'm blanking on it now, like there was Capital Hoops, that's big up
Mhm,
there.
mhm.
And like any time that they have like Carleton versus University of Ottawa and anything, like obviously the big football game that they have, but like you'd go down, what's the street name now? I'm just blanking on street names, but I know like Bronson, like you'd see a whole bunch of students. You didn't have to even go to the game, but you
Yeah,
knew who win or won because if you hear all Carleton crowd like chanting in the streets, you're like, all right, they must have won.
yeah,
University of Ottawa just chanting. I'm like, okay, but it's crazy. Like from coming from Newfoundland to see that, I'm just like, man, they really care about their sports up here. It's like, no, they. If you go to the States and see how they treat sports, it's crazy. But I was like, this is as close as I'm getting where it's safe, where it's like we don't like each other, but we understand that we're still students having fun. Where I feel like in the States, if it's like Tennessee versus, I don't know, like Texas or something, it's like, I
probably.
will kill you because your team won. It's just like, dude, it's just a game. I'm not even affiliated with the team. I just root for them because my son's on the team. And they're like, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
It gets too extreme. But yeah, that's interesting. So I want to ask you, how did you kind of get involved in the music science? Because I know you said you started writing songs in English, and you
Mhm.
didn't feel like you belong in, like obviously get that, but why English and why music? Why wasn't it like, oh, I'm going to write poetry or I'll write a book? Like
Mhm.
what drew you distinctively that hey, I'm going to be a singer?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I always liked writing. I liked writing essays. I was really good at that in school. So writing in general was, yes, something I always enjoyed. But for the music part, the first memory is my mom is an opera singer, and so when I was growing up, she was studying towards getting her opera degree, which she got. And so so it was always like a musical family, and she put me in piano lessons, voice lessons, things like that. But then at some point, um, it kind of changed where like I started. Well, I mean, the first thing was I Taylor Swift was
Oh yeah.
becoming known at the time, and I remember hearing Teardrops on My Guitar, I think, was the first song I listened to by Taylor Swift. And I remember like, oh my God, she has curly hair like me, and she plays the guitar. And so I spent like an entire summer in my bedroom teaching myself to play guitar. And then for the songwriting, it kind of started when it was like a crush in school, and who didn't like me back. I think I was like 13 or
Oh
14.
yeah, that's how it all starts. That's how it
Yeah,
always starts.
yeah, exactly. And so I was like, well, Taylor Swift writes songs to make herself feel better. Why don't I try doing that as well? And so I wrote my first song, and I kept writing more and more and more. And that's kind of yeah, where it all came from.
Nice. No, that's interesting. Now, I want to ask you because, like, how old were you when you came back to Canada?
19.
19. Okay.
Hmm.
But like, did your parents ever put up a fight for you to stay, or were they kind of like, you know what, she wants to go, it's good? Because like, I can imagine for someone like myself coming from Newfoundland to Ottawa, my parents really didn't care. I should really ask them why they didn't care. No, I'm not going to. But they knew I was going to live with my brother, so they're like, he's fine, he's okay. But it's still like only maybe what, like maybe a 3 hour plane ride or so away. Like if something really drastically happened,
Hmm.
but like were they kind of saying to you like, hey, you you didn't know you're staying here, or were they kind of like, just go, you're being annoying anyway, you want to go back to Ottawa, just go?
No, I mean, they voiced their concerns. My mom more so, because like I'm an only child, and I guess leaving there and coming all this way here was difficult for her, but she knew it was good for me, and so did my dad, and they knew I'd be like coming here to live with family at first. Like I said, I have a few uncles here, so they were like, okay, well, she'll be safe at least, and also like Lebanon was not doing so well at the time. It's doing even worse now. So now they're like definitely made the right choice. Um, so yeah, I mean they've always been supportive generally of like what I want to do, and yeah, so they knew like I wanted to do the journalism program. They knew Carleton was great. So even though they were concerned, they still supported me. So
I
yeah.
know we went in a little bit of the music side. Now, tell me a little bit. And I know you said about Taylor Swift being an inspiration, but like
Yeah.
essentially, when did you kind of drift out? Because I know artists try to find their own voice, their own kind of style. Like,
Mhm.
when did you kind of go like, okay, Taylor, you're helpful, you got me here, but now
Mhm.
I got to branch out a little bit. Like, when did that kind of light flicker to be like, all right, got to come
Yeah.
up with my own stuff here?
Yeah. I think it happened naturally, like over time. Um, I did stop writing for a while when I was doing university. I kind of didn't want to pursue a career in music at that point because I thought it wasn't realistic, and then, or I was told it wasn't realistic. But then, I got a degree in journalism and communication, and then you realize, well, you can do it on your own. You don't need like big record labels anymore and all this kind of stuff. Like people can do it on their own now. And then like COVID happened, and I was a bit lonely or not doing so well, like a lot of people weren't. And I kind of had a nap one day, and then I woke up from the nap and I was like, well, I'm gonna go buy like a little recording kit, like
Okay.
and then I'll start recording covers, like weekly covers. So that kind of got me into starting the like the momentum again of getting back into it. I hadn't decided yet I was going to do my own stuff. Like I was like, I'm going to grow my YouTube channel, which didn't really happen, but it did help with towards like
Yeah.
the recording side of it. And I started taking voice lessons again, guitar lessons again, which was interesting because I'm like, well, I was 25, well, why would I take lessons again? But then when you start, you're like, oh, wait, I still have a lot to learn. And especially on the voice side, like over the last 2 years, my voice has changed so much from what it was before. And
Hold on,
some
hold on. Your voice has changed. Wait, did you sound like this at one point where it's like,
my
hello?
singing,
No,
my
no.
singing voice evolved.
Okay. I'd be
Like,
concerned if I was meeting you and next minute it goes from like
yeah,
being deep level voice and I'd just be like, that's
yeah.
not how she sounded on the podcast. No, no.
Like I was really inspired by Taylor, and she's my idol, like forever and always. But her singing style is not always, or at least in her old songs, her singing style wasn't always the most smooth or the most right way of singing. So
Okay.
so I by taking lessons, I realized how much more like I could give, and how much better my voice is than what I thought it was with the right techniques and everything. And yeah, and I started writing again, and I found a producer in Ottawa that I work with. I worked with on my first two songs, and that I'm working with on my third one that's gonna come out soon. And so with each song that I'm putting out, it's like it's taking a life of its own, and I'm liking that because they're not sounding the same. So
Okay.
so so in that way, yeah, it's like I'm like, okay, well now I'm really starting to find my identity. It's not set in stone yet, but it's like I'm learning as I'm writing, and putting more songs out. So yeah.
Do you think people are surprised? Like, because obviously when you stumble across your Instagram page, like, because I know it's very, how's the West way I'm going to put it? It's very interesting to me when like I listen to a song on a radio, that's a new artist, or like you just stumble across a page, like, listen, I like Adele, but I was like kind of really surprised and I found out Adele was like from the UK. And the same with like One Direction. Like I love One Direction. There's a part of me that knew they were like not, you know, Canadian or US, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same point, I'm just still like, what? Like I remember listening to, because those are my go-to examples, but I remember my friend at Carleton got
Mm-hmm.
me into Ed Sheeran,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm trying to remember the first song. I think it was like "Give Me Love," and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's like I'm going through a bad time or like a heart ache kind of thing. I'm like, sure, and then I like grew to like Ed Sheeran because I was like, man, this guy's a moody motherfucker. And then
Yeah.
he came out with like pop songs, and I was like, that's cool. It's like he can pull it off, but it was like one day I just sat there and I was like, I guess at the beginning of it, you didn't know really what he looked like because
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of imagining what he looked like. And the next one I was like, this guy's a ginger. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's fine. And then the next minute I was just like, wait, he's not from the States? I was like, I don't hear the accent. And then when I picked up on interviews, I was like, there it is. So do
Yeah.
you find when people listen to your music and then, you know, obviously there's certain words that you'll pronounce.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does it. I'm a Newfoundlander. I have an accent, but do you find that they get a little bit surprised when you mention your background or like when you know perform and they're just like, wait a second, it's not what I thought she'd sound like, or that's not what I envisioned, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't, it's fun because usually when people see me, I don't know if it's because of my name, but at first they assume I'm Latin, like, and
Okay, like Shakira.
yeah, well, she's Lebanese, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I've been told that so many times, so that's usually uh, what I get, and then I get asked, yeah, for the accent because it's kind of a mix of like a French and Arabic accent kind of thing.
Yes, I'm glad you said it because if I said it, they'd probably try to cancel me. No. But no, I mean that's fair. I just thought it was interesting because like going through the profile, I was like, all right, because I know Canadian, and I was like, great, but like that whole other aspect, I was kind of like, that's interesting because everyone has their own story, but
Mhm.
I just wonder, like, because obviously you go to Carleton or any university or college, you're in a foreign land. Like some people got to pick up on it, but I'm just wondering, like, were people kind of like, what are you saying? Were they mean to you? Were they
Mhm.
trying to be inviting? Because I feel like if I go to France and I try my French, I'm not
Yeah.
good at French, but they'd be like, "Man, you must be Canadian. That's Canadian French." I'd be like, "Okay, you got me. Can you just show me where I can get like a bagel or a donut?" And they'd be like, "Oui,
Yeah.
oui," and I'd be like, "Yes, yes," and they'd be like, "No, it just means yes once." I'd be like, "But you said it twice." They'd be like, "That's how we do it over here." I'm like, "I'm so confused."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I, even at university, like I had a few friends, but I didn't feel like I fit in with the bigger cliques, like the bigger journalism cliques. Like now that I
Okay.
think of it, I don't know why. I don't know if it was because of that. Maybe not. But I don't know. I feel like it's because my identity is so full of different things that I don't fit in a specific place, and I think that's a big experience of many people who like.
Sure, sure. So going through that, like, because this is the part where I get interested. Like, not from the music side. Like, I know we can still talk music, but like the idea of this is conversations where people don't really like
Hmm.
you dive into other things. So I want to ask you, kind of diving that way, is like,
Hmm.
when you do feel a little bit uncomfortable, or when you do kind of be like, okay, I'm not in this in crowd. Like, was that when you started going back to like writing music and being like, all right, this is my Taylor Swift version, or were you kind of like, how do you get through that? Because listen,
Yeah.
I I went up there and we have sayings in Newfoundland like "What are you at?" which basically means "What's up?" And I forgot where I was to, and then I
Mhm.
was like telling people like, "Was it what are you at?" And they'd be like, "This guy, like, what's
Yeah.
his problem?" And I'd be like, "Oh, like shit, like I'm in another province." So then I used to be like, "What's up?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to class." And I'm like, "It's so much simpler if you
Yeah.
understood what I was saying."
I mean, that didn't really bother me. It's just a little, thing that happened. Like I did have a few friends that I, liked hanging out with. I've never been big on, big groups of friends, but I have my few like close friends that I, always keep in touch with, and so that's not really what got me back into writing. No, like I wouldn't write about that, but
Oh, you're strong. You're stronger than I am because like that's how I feel when like I get ignored or I'm or put on red. I'm just like,
yeah.
all right, time to go back to doing podcasting or time to go back and pretend I know how to pick up a guitar and play. They'll be like, what
Yeah.
happened this time, Tobin? Like, who ignored you this time? I'm like, how do you know someone ignored me? You only ever do this when someone
Mhm.
ignores you. I'm just like, all right, fine. This is Raphaela girl. She said that she was going to come on my show. No. No, that's fine. I want to ask you a
Yeah.
little bit of the fun aspect here of like the podcast, but like the South of France song. Like, tell me a little bit about how that came to be, because I know you recently posted about how well it's streaming,
Mhm.
and like I enjoy when artists do that because like there's a side of people that are like, oh, look at her gloating or look at him gloating. I'm just like, well, you wouldn't know, and essentially that's good. Like even if someone's like, well, it only has like 1,000 streams, I'm like, it's still 1,000 people that streamed it. Come on, like I gotta sometimes go back in my own, dictionary here of episodes, and I'll be like, that only has 400 plays, and someone's like, you have 400 plays, and I'm just like, that's true,
That's,
because 20-something-year-old Brian probably thought nobody's listening to this.
yeah. I mean, like I worked hard on the song. I worked hard on my plan to release it. So I'm gonna show up for myself because other people are not gonna do that. Um, so yeah, when it gets 10,000 streams, I'm gonna post
Yeah,
about it because some people are gonna say or are gonna think I'm gloating, but the people who are streaming it are gonna be happy because they played a part in that. So I
yeah,
want to thank them, and then those who don't want to hear it can just unfollow me. And,
yeah,
like I still, it's not that I don't feel insecure about it. I still feel insecure about, I need to post and I need to do this, and but yeah, like I have to be. I am proud of myself. I think I'm gonna keep improving, but yeah, if it's gonna get streams, I'm gonna it's my second song, so getting on Discover Weekly for my second song is kind of a big deal because I know that some people wait a long time before they are able to trigger that algorithmic playlist. So I was like super stoked about that. But yeah, and I'm just gonna keep working harder on my next one, so people should show up for themselves. Yeah.
So like if you were saying like, because I know you mentioned earlier about like how people today, and I agree with you, so don't make it sound like I'm like, oh, he's going against me, but it's like,
Yeah.
people can make it kind of like on YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
like they don't really need a label, but like
Yeah.
I'm learning that kind of myself. Like I used to post episodes all the time and clips, and then
Hmm.
sometimes you gotta sit back and be like, okay, like it's working, but it's not working to where I want it to. So what can we change? Like, and you're like, I'm sitting there by myself going like, okay, what's gonna catch people's attention, but like
Hmm.
not trendy. Like you still want it to be genuine.
Hmm.
Like how do you kind of focus on your marketing, and like do you really go full on examining of like, okay, Monday at 2 o'clock is the best time to post. Tuesday, like, because that's where I'm to. I'm kind of looking at some, and it's all guess and check, but it's worth a
Hmm.
try. But there are sometimes I'm like, okay, why Tuesday at 11 is the best time to post, and then Friday at 2 o'clock it is, and then you're like, okay, or what about if I just post when I want to post? Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a typical social media schedule, like I think now I'm trying to post more often, 3 posts at least a week, just stay consistent so that you're still showing up. And because if you don't, then you kind of, at least for me, I would fall off the wagon. And then
I'm
for
on that wagon. No.
yeah. Well, for the first two songs, the first one I had a big, like Monday I'm gonna do this, Tuesday I'm gonna, and I did all that. For the second one, I did that as well, but less detailed. And
Okay.
now for the third one, I still haven't done it actually, but you kind of get used to the process, so I kind of know how it's gonna go. Um, but yeah, like I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me because for example, for the second song, I kind of had these highly edited promo videos with like behind the scenes of my photo shoot, and then I found that just sitting and doing lip sync to my song resonated more with people
Yeah.
than like the edited out now or
Yeah.
say
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of, yeah. But I try to, with the marketing, I try to kind of cover all my bases, like the organic, the ads, the what else? Trying to get interviews like this one, for example.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and that's where my journalism communication brain.
That's where the PR skills come,
That's,
right?
yeah,
We should probably both be better at this. We're like okay, we both have communication degrees and
yeah,
or journalism. It's like how are we not this? How are we so bad at this? It's like okay,
yeah. It's
well we're
also,
learning. We're learning.
yeah.
I want to ask you like because when you're talking about marketing, I thought it was interesting because you're saying the videos that have kind of like the lip sync and the text. I
Hmm.
like that to a degree because I've actually found a lot of artists like either through a sponsored ad or just scrolling. And
Hmm.
like, so I'll give you this example, and maybe you've stumbled across it. If not, feel it's not a big deal if you haven't. But like, there's a song by Blue Eyes. I think that's her artist name. And like, I was scrolling one day and just seen it, and I was just like, all right, let me look at it a little bit more. And she's just literally out in the woods by herself, and she's just like, you know, uh, lip syncing the lyrics, and I'm just like, man, I'm kind of enticed because it sounds like this is you. I know this is you singing, and I'm sure you did this in a studio, but like I can kind of feel the pain in the song because you're literally out in the cold, lip
Hmm.
syncing these lyrics.
Yeah.
Or there's a guy named Knox from like Canada, and he does kind of like a pop music, and he's talking about sneakers, and he literally just does a song where he's like walking around his sneakers, and I'm like, all right, it's like true to form. But if you had to go like, this is me behind the scenes of my latest, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to see a behind the scenes of like how you made a music video. Like, just show
Yeah.
me your music so I can like tell you if it's great or if it's shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
me coming on here tomorrow and be like, all right, this is the behind the scenes of me setting up before we interviewed
Mhm.
Raphaela, and they'd be like, I don't give a fuck, just show me the interview. And I'd be like, all right, fuck, like you guys are so mean, you're ruthless, but at least you're getting to the point. So I like that you're covering all bases because there are people out there that like behind the scenes. I'm more of a like just show me a clip with words. But
Yeah.
I will say this: I'm not big on TikTok, and I
Mhm.
don't like the voiceover lady that does TikTok because not just because she doesn't get paid for it, but it's like you have your own voice. Why are you using words like my dog went out today and did this? I'm just like, can you?
Yeah.
Why don't you say it? You know, you got a dog, frisbee.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see the videos where it's like I'm just trying to do stuff and frisbee's over there. We got a winter or like a snow warning or whatever in effect, and he's trying to stay warm. It's like imagine if you gave frisbee a voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not so cool now, is it? Um, that's all right. So I want to end it off here. If you to play a random game of
Okay.
random questions. Are you down for
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Let me get that ready here. Okay, so if you could live in a book, TV show, or movie, what would it be?
Well, I have to say, it's a book called Book Lovers.
Okay.
So a Book Lovers. And the reason I say that is because my third song that's gonna come out like a few weeks to a month from now is based on that book, inspired by the characters in that book. So yeah, that's why I choose it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What and like and can you give me a little bit of detail? Like I'm not a big book guy, but what's the book about?
Well, it's about this book agent, and then so it's kind of like they're playing on the trope of like the how usually the small town, so the guy breaks up with his selfish girlfriend who lives in the city, and he finds someone in a small town uh, place.
Okay.
And in that book, this book agent gets broken up with, and then she ends up going to a small town herself, and she meets this other, I think, see, I can't remember now if he's the book agent too, but anyway, they're both in the book business, and then anyway, they fall in love, and that's what I liked about it. Like, it's a cute rom-com. I like that the couple is not toxic, because usually when you read a book,
Yeah.
usually, people like that the main characters hate each other at first, and then they love each other, but this one was just like they just got each other from
Okay.
the beginning, and and they grew to love each other. So anyway, I was
Okay.
inspired by it to write a song. And
That okay, that's good because the moment when you started saying that, I was just thinking like instantly, I'm like Hallmark movie. Like that's
Yeah,
every Hallmark movie ever. But then you pointed out that usually Hallmark movies is they don't like each other at first, and then somehow something brings them together, right?
yeah,
Like it's like if I met you on the street today, I was just like, man, what a total ass. Don't like her. And then it's like, but Brian, did you know that she has
yeah.
a communications degree? I'd be like, well, we can bond over that. No, no. And then it goes from there. But that's how Hallmark movies would write it. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Hmm.
If you say be yourself, I'm gonna be like, you liar. No,
I think the best. I don't remember who. I've been told it many times, probably, but it's the fact that you can't control how other people act towards you, but you can control how you react to other people's actions, even if they're hurtful sometimes. So that's a good
that's a good
perspective to have.
okay. That's a good one. Best piece of advice I ever got was get out. Like just don't be in here anymore. I'm just like, gotcha. And that's it. But no, I like that one. That one's a little bit more worldly. All right, let's see. What is something you can never seem to finish?
Oh, hmm.
I was going to say my sentences, but no.
What is something I can? Games, video games. I always buy a new game and I can not finish it. I buy another one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How I read that you have a Switch.
Yeah.
What games do you play on the Switch?
Right now I'm playing Persona 5 and I Breath of the Wild. Um yeah, probably these two.
Are you big on gamer? Like do you when you lose, do you get mad or you just kind of like it's just a game, I'm just gonna walk away?
I don't typically lose if I'm playing with like a group of people.
Oh,
Yeah,
the confidence.
yeah, like Mario Kart and all this stuff. I'm always.
Oh, that's okay. That's good. Okay, so in the back here, I've got mine direct. Or actually, do I go this way? I don't know. Let me see if I can turn it this way. There you go. So this little black case here,
Yeah.
that's my Switch.
Oh, okay.
So you know what? You know what's gonna happen? I love Mario Kart. Like two. Obviously, I will ask, but we will add you on Mario Kart and we will play some games. And then if I lose, I'll just be like, I'm not posting this. I'm getting beat. I don't like it. But no, it's fun. Do you have like have you ever played like Mario Party on the Switch?
No, I have not.
Okay,
Not.
don't because it just ruins you. Like you could be up by like 4 or 5 stars and you have it on like easy com and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, this guy's about to get his third star. So maybe stop him from getting his third star. They're like, nah, I'm gonna take your fifth star. I'm like, but I have what? Like, stop. Like you could have no, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Mario Kart to me causes a little bit of anxiety, but it's fun.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any nicknames?
Yeah. Ella or
Okay.
or Raph.
Okay, so if I was to say Ella, is it from what I think it's from? Is it from like Frozen?
No.
Oh, okay. Why that one?
Well,
The end of your name?
yeah, like Raphael. So when I was young, I used to think my name was spelled. No one ever corrected me. I wrote it my whole life, Raphaela, so two L's. And then one day I looked at my identity card and it's like there's only one L there. So, but the Ella came with like two L's from the original way I used to write
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
yeah,
I don't even think Ella is a character in Frozen. That's just where my mind went because I was just like blonde hair. I was just
I
like
never watched it. So
no, neither have I. But I have a niece that like when she was smaller loved Frozen, and I'm sure there's a character in it that's probably similar to that. Someone will come at me in the comments section later and just be like, "You're an idiot. Why didn't you know that?" But I'm just like, man, she kind of does look like the character from Frozen, which is a compliment.
yeah.
Before people come at me and be like, "How dare he insult her that way?" What are some pet peeves that you have?
Wait, what are pet peeves? I know
Pet
what they
peeve,
are, but now I
yeah.
can't remember.
So like it's things that like they either kind of upset you or like it's like triggers. It triggers you. Like for me, a pet peeve is if I'm working, even though I'm guilty of it anyway, someone has a pen and starts like banging it against the desk like back and forth. It's annoying. Or a pet peeve like when I'm playing Mario Kart and someone blue shells me and I'm about to cross the finish line. That's a pet peeve. I know they want to win too, but I'm just like, dude, I'm so close. Why are
Okay.
you taking away? Why are you taking this away from me?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like, do I? Probably. I can't really think of anything right now.
This
Um,
guy, I am your pet peeve from now on. I do not like this guy. He does not entice me at all. He's mean to me. No, no.
yeah, yeah. Well, I annoy myself sometimes. I don't know.
No, that's fair. You're your own pet peeve. You're sitting in a room. You're just like,
I'm a ball of anxiety. So
yeah, yeah.
thing.
I feel like we all are at some point. But that's it. Like you're in a room. You're just like, Ella, man. Like, come on. You didn't even know your name spelled with one L. What's wrong with you? And it's just like, let it go. It's been 20 years. All right. Let's see what the last one is. Oh, I feel like this one's pretty decent. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I think it's a decent one.
Okay.
Watch your go-to dance move.
I suck at dancing. I don't have a dance move. I'm good at music, but I have no.
Okay, you're more like if I went to see you.
I'll
Like
just like do like a random. I don't know. Just trying to move to
this,
the rhythm. Like
or
yeah,
like woo.
yeah.
All right, that's fair. So you're more or less saying that if I went to see you at a pub or a bar, it's just you sitting there playing your guitar, and that's good. Okay, that's peace. At least you know your limit, right? Because I feel like some people go outside the limit. Like if someone was like, Brian, let me see your dance moves, I'd be like, they think I have more than one move. Oh God. So then I just come up with things on the fly, and they're like, man, is he okay over there? Like, what's going on? And I just be like, I'm doing great. They'll be like, I'm Chris Brown. I can dance. Or I'm MJ. Look at me moonwalk. They'll be like, I can see your feet. You're going nowhere. I'm just like, oh, I thought I was going places.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Raphaela for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening and good night.